Hey everybody, this is Michelle.
And this is Julie.
Welcome to A Blonde, a Brunette, and a Mic podcast. What is our podcast all about, you ask?
Well, we're two 50-something women with life experience and, plenty to say.
Which is exactly what we're going to do right now. Here we go, Jules. We got some things to talk about today.
Yes, we do. It's all about mind over matter.
Mind over matter. Speaking of mind over matter, if you went to the Madonna concert, would you be positively, prior to, there's been a lot of controversy with her and her concerts.
Yeah, she's a tiny bit of a diva.
Like, she's been late. I don't even know what all this, she's getting sued. There's been all these kinds of things, but, well, actually, you did go to the Madonna concert, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. So prior, did you psych yourself up, with a positive attitude about what the outcome was going to be? Did you do that?
To be very truthful and forthcoming, I was anticipating her being super late and I was going to be really annoyed.
So based on the things that you heard.
Yeah, based on what I heard.
Okay.
And so Mary and I went and we even got there. We got there late. We went and had a little bite to eat, had a drink and stuff. Didn't even get to the show.
Because you probably knew it'd be all right.
Right. So we got there about, 9 o'clock or so. It was supposed to start at 8:30.
Yeah.
And she had a DJ playing. It's quite a performance. I mean, it's quite a big production, this setup that they had. But they didn't come on until about 9:45. Mm-hmm. And so she had a DJ there that was kind of, I guess, entertaining people. Mm-hmm. And then they had someone from one of the drag shows in the area, I think, that came and was doing like some fun things up on the stage, but just to entertain people.
Yeah.
And when she finally did come out, what I did notice was, first of all, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was a total bucket list show. But she is injured, I think, because she had a big brace on her knee.
Oh.
And then she wasn't really doing the whole dancing thing like she normally would.
Okay. She was 65, maybe.
Well, I mean, she's in amazing shape.
Yeah.
Right? She's only 5'3". I didn't realize she was that tiny.
I didn't realize she was that tiny either.
She's pretty tiny.
Interesting. Okay.
But I think she was on painkiller. Okay, this is totally like hypothetical. So, I am just giving my opinion and Mary's opinion. I think she may have been on painkillers or something because she seemed like she was having a little difficulty moving around. And then she had a guy who's like her bestie or something that was with her during part of the time. Mm-hmm. So, but there were some really good social messages. She had a whole segment that was about all of the people that have perished from AIDS. Mm-hmm. And she's a big supporter of the LGBTQ community, which there was an abundance of individuals there from the LGBTQ community, and just women also dressed up in their material girl outfits and just, the bows in their hair.
I'm pretty sure I was Madonna in 1985.
Oh my God, the glove. Remember the glove?
I had lace gloves with no finger, and I wear the bow in my hair. I had the curly permed hair.
Yeah, I can't believe that. So back when, I was 21 or something, she was my jam. Yeah. And I had this little sports car and I would play her music at the top of the radio, with the windows down and the whole bit. And that's, of course, what I remember is just cruising through.
Do you
with
remember that movie she was in? Desperately Seeking Susan?
Yeah, let's just say that's not really her calling.
Well,
acting.
No, acting. Yeah, definitely.
And I think that was probably in the 90s, wasn't it?
That was the 80s.
Was it really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's definitely not her calling, but she had two of her kids there.
Yeah.
And
the 90s. No, I think it was the 80s. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, one of her kids is an amazing pianist. I mean, she's 18 years old. Uh-huh. And then she had another one of her daughters there, her adopted daughter there, that was maybe 14 or so, 13, 14, and was a dancer. Yeah, it was a good show. And we actually left before it ended because it started late, not as late as it had started in other places. When Selena went, my niece, in New York, she didn't come on stage till 11:30.
That's crap.
It's ridiculous. I was pissed. And I guess she is getting sued about all that stuff. So maybe, my speculation is maybe with the injury, she's maybe had some trouble, staying awake with the medicine. I don't know. But whatever.
I do love me some Madonna, though.
Off my bucket list.
She got a lot of good hits.
Yeah, she does.
get into the groove, Lucky Star, Vogue, Material Girl, Like a Virgin. Oh man,
that's probably your favorite song, right?
Like a Virgin.
Yeah. You can always wish.
Of course, in the clubs, they'd always say, "Fucked for the very first time."
I don't remember that.
Oh, stop it.
Well, hey, I did have a little issue with mind over matter. So you're right. Going into this thinking, oh my God, we're going to be home at 3 a.m.
Yep.
Like I really care. I used to be home at 3 a.m. all the time, but I wanted to make sure Mary got home and got some rest. But it was good. So mind over matter.
Yeah. Mind over matter is kind of an interesting subject. It's something that I definitely am a proponent of believing in, and you might think of it in a lot of different ways, like the power of positive thinking in general, in a little snapshot of really what mind over matter is. But there's a lot of different instances that can be truly effective in your life, and that perception that mind over matter, what and how and the way that you're thinking can change the physicality of things in real life.
Makes a huge difference.
And it's kind of a hard concept to grasp, really, if it's not something that you're used to doing, collectively thinking about doing, something that you are intentionally doing, because I think that's how it starts out. You have to be intentional about different things with regard to mind over matter, with the power of positive thinking. And then when you start doing it enough, it, to a certain degree, comes into play somewhat naturally, I think.
I think you're right. When I think of this phrase, the power of positive thinking, what immediately comes to mind is the whole mentality of cup half empty versus cup half full.
Yeah.
I remember when I worked at Nordstrom, there was this guy that worked there. This is a great example. Like super negative, great guy, but like Eeyore a negative, constantly, constantly negative. And we had, remember when the stadium was built down there, we had one of the bricks. We bought one of the bricks for him that said, block the bad, catch the good. Because he was constantly looking to catch the bad. So the mindset was constantly thinking that things weren't going to work, constantly thinking doom and gloom. Yeah. So, which of course is not really how my mind works. I think it's annoying sometimes to people. Like my mom, I always give her the positive side of things. And she's like, can't you just agree with me? No, I can't disagree with you. But I think that phrase is used a lot of the times when there's a hardship situation that might be coming up, or there's some challenge that appears to be insurmountable, or that maybe people don't believe you can handle. Like maybe it's your goal is to run a marathon, a 26.2 mile marathon.
Right.
Well, if I told you, hey, Michelle, I'm going to run a marathon, you'd look at me and go, great. Because you know that would be something very difficult for me to do. Right. It's something you'd have to really want.
I mean, it might as well been a marathon, but on my 50th birthday, I ran the 8K.
I know.
Which is just like 5 miles.
But see, you did it.
But that's for me because I am not athletic. I am not a runner. I don't do any of that shit.
But it's a big deal, is what I'm saying, because you did it.
So to your point, that totally made me think of that. I didn't even, put that parallel in my mind when we were talking about this topic. But definitely, I don't know why, but I just decided that I was going to do that. I was turning 50. The race was on my 50th birthday. My brother has type 1 diabetes. So I had all these reasons to do it, something I'd never done before. And I just, but like literally every day I went in and worked out for like 90 days straight without a day off. And I started kicking it into gear. And I just knew I was going to do it. And I started feeling better and better about it. It was really hard.
Girlfriend, I remember this because girlfriend was rocking those selfies in the gym. I'm like, damn, look at her ass.
It was hard, but I did beat the bridge and I finished the race. I wasn't trying to do it in any, those were my two goals, beat the bridge, finish the race. And I did do both. So, but definitely the mindset totally made a difference
Mm-hmm.
in what that outcome was going to be.
Well,
For sure.
I don't even know how you could go into that with a different mindset than the
Yeah.
positive or manifesting.
Mhm.
You know, I
Yeah.
think a lot of this is having that internal talk,
Yep.
that
Self-talk.
self-talk. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know that I can speak for myself. I'm sure it's probably the same for you and other people too, but your inner self-talk can sometimes be negative.
Mhm.
You know, it's all the things that you're kind of thrown at during the course of your life. You have to really step back and think differently.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're not feeling super confident about something. So it
Mhm.
does come back. I think it also does come back to the confidence level,
Mhm.
somebody has. And if they've got a group of individuals who are their cheerleaders, it makes the hugest difference.
Yeah.
Because you've got other people out there believing in you and believing in what you're doing that are part of your circle.
Mhm.
And you don't want to let them down either. So
Right.
you push
You got it.
forward,
Yeah. And until you have that, though, you have got to be your own.
Yes.
You've got to be your own cheerleader at all times.
Mhm.
And that brings to mind for me when I first, made the decision to leave my marriage. And I started going through a difficult situation after difficult situation after difficult situation.
Like, when is it going to end?
Like, when is it going to end? Yeah. And that is kind of the moment, because this was prior to even that race. That was really the first moment in my life and events leading up to it, but where I really had to continually give myself those pep talks and have those conversations of, you are completely capable of doing this. People do it all the time. You can do it too. You just have to figure it out. And literally these little pep talks on a daily basis. And when something would go wrong or sideways or be really hard, you just continually do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
you got to get into your own head.
Yeah, you
as
do.
opposed to letting some of the stuff that's
Mhm.
held you back in the past,
Yeah.
maybe. And it's also about maybe wanting something really badly.
Yes.
So let's talk about a couple of examples of when mind over matter can make a difference. So I'm just thinking right off the top of my head about the traffic in Seattle.
Mhm.
And I'm sure this is the same everywhere, right? We all have traffic. We have very limited freeways here, just, one major I-5 and the other one's the 405. So it's constantly backed up.
Yeah.
And I can think of times when I have been in the car and just been freaking pissed off because I can't get to where I need to go. Of course, I'm pushing it till the very last second. So that's a whole other issue we won't get into today. But I remember thinking to myself, it's like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. If I honk at somebody, it's not going to make any difference. If I, move over to this lane and get one car ahead, it's really not going to make any difference. If I get off the exit and go somewhere a different way, probably going to take longer. You just have to kind of sometimes resign yourself to the fact that you don't have control over the circumstances that you're in, but you have control over how you handle them. Yeah.
Because what you're talking about, like the honking, the yelling, all the things that could go along with that, which don't help the situation at all. It's not going to make you get there any quicker. It's going to raise your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It's, all of those things.
And you turn into like the
energy
asshole
that you release within yourself. Yeah. It's just like no good. And those are the things that are not conducive for good health.
Right.
I think it plays into that also.
So you got to want something, though. I go back to that whole thing. So in this particular case, you're talking about a scenario where you don't have control. So do you have control, though? Could you leave earlier?
Right.
For where you're going? Could you, call and let them know where, if you have to be somewhere, that you're going to be late, that can take a little bit of that pressure off. And then I say it's like, play some music or listen to a podcast, like a blonde brunette and a mic.
And the kind of music, it is also, that's it. That's the thing, is just back to, I know you love this because it's your word for the year, but the intention behind everything, you really have to be intentional about the outcomes and what you're putting into it to have the outcome.
And not just a willy-nilly outcome, but an outcome that you can envision and that you can try to manifest.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a little bit of a woo-woo word, manifest, but I really truly believe that it makes a difference. If you can kind of see what's going on in your head, or you can envision it and you want it bad enough, it's going to happen.
And speak it.
Yeah.
I mean, go listen to any successful, goal-oriented person that has accomplished many things and had success. And those are the things that you hear. You envision yourself, you write it down, you say it out loud. The constant, affirmations, and to your point, manifestation, it all comes into play with what the outcomes will be.
Another component of that might also be that you remove things from your scope, your daily life that are going to prevent you from hitting those goals. So here I am on the podcast talking about goals and intention. We talked about that. And like learning Spanish. That's an intention of mine this year.
Yeah.
Do I want it really badly? I mean, I've talked about it for a freaking long time. I need to get off the pot, right? So I'm getting off the pot. I'm started my lessons. Am I going to be fluent? No, but I'm going to know enough by the time I go to a Spanish speaking country to be able to have at least a remotely, understandable conversation. That's my goal. So if I had my goal was to be fluent, I would be approaching it at a completely different pace.
Right.
But I'm just trying to, be able to communicate. So that's the step that I'm in. So if I can do that and make that happen, then when I can do that and make that happen, not if, I'm going to feel pretty good about it.
See, in the word you just corrected,
yeah,
those are the things that really do make a difference.
Yeah. But look at my first thought process was going to if.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have to really kind of rethink or rewire how we approach things if we want to make progress on something. And again, the whole idea of mind over matter is really being able to control how we respond to something or be able to control the outcome by continuing on with just not letting things die, like keeping them alive, like doing the things we're saying we're going to do.
Do you ever, I know you were talking about that gentleman at Nordstrom that you knew, doom and gloom or whatever, but don't you, everybody must know somebody, because I certainly do, like that person who is always, professing the worst case scenario, or, it's that person that wants to ask somebody out and like, I know you're probably going to say no, but
the approach,
the approach, but who's negative about so many things. And really that's the energy that they just carry all the time. And a lot of times there's really not positive things that are going on in their life.
Right. But you wonder why.
Because they're speaking it. That you like speak it into existence. I am telling you, it's true.
Well, and then that reaffirms for you that, oh gosh, I was on the right track. And so you might be the person who just keeps going down that road.
And it's not to be so sickening, like, the glass half full all the time.
Right.
Like,
and it can be nauseating when people are like toxically positive. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. But at the same time, when it becomes your lifestyle and it's just kind of who you are, I think there's a difference.
Yeah.
Somebody that's trying to learn that and maybe put those behaviors into play, it might be something that's more noticeable. But like I stopped watching the news a long time ago. Because that is something, along with technology, which has come, and we wonder why kids now have so much anxiety and depression in their life.
They're exposed to a lot more.
They're exposed to so much more than we were.
Yeah.
We had the 10 o'clock news or whatever, if we were home by then.
Right.
And kids now, when they have phones at a young age, they go on the internet. There's so much more that they are exposed to that is not positive. Look at the world events that are happening right now in Russia and Israel and Palestine and all of those things that...
Oh my gosh, you sounded like a political person for a second.
For a moment.
that was like a really short moment.
Yeah. And with the presidential election coming along and all of the things that are surrounded with that, there's just so many things, and the social media aspect of things that the younger generation has to deal with. I mean, everybody does, but we never did at that early age. So there's just so many things that I think contribute to that. And then as we get older, there's what is it called? Your self-perception of aging.
Yes.
So that is really a thing. It's referred to as SPA, your self-perception of aging. So as you age, and they talk about, when you're about 65, that's kind of when there's all these notions and things that start coming into play with those perceptions. And most of them are negative perceptions.
So that they've created aging throughout their years, you mean? And they haven't been validated, or they have been validated?
Well, we do our own validation, don't we? That's where that's where that comes in. But it's all the social stereotypes that go along with that. So like I was saying, the younger generation, what they're exposed to now, here we are heading into those 60s at some point. And what is the perception of ourselves as we're aging? There's a lot of social stereotypes that go along with that. I need to fill my lips. I need to get rid of those lines. There's so many things that, again, social stereotypes that go along with what our self-perception is of how we age.
So how does mind over matter, and kind of looking at like that topic, help us?
Well, because it's all about how we are thinking of ourselves. I have no problem with like filling your lips, filling your lines. You can do all that stuff. I just use that as an example of the social stereotypes that go along with the perception of how we're supposed to view ourselves and do for ourselves as we're aging. And for some people, that might be what it is. But, I think it's the public in general that holds those stereotypes.
Yes.
And so it's your self-talk, your self-thinking, how you're feeling about yourself, how you're vibing about yourself. Is physical activity going to be good as you age? Yes, physical activity is going to be good as you age. Is good skincare going to be good as you age? Yes, good skincare is going to be good.
You're still gonna age, one way or another, but it's like aging gracefully, I guess, or even accepting that, because when you look at, I look at mind over matter, I'm aging, you're aging. It's like, am I okay with it? I don't really have a choice,
right?
And so we have to look at it like, well, how can we do this in a way that we are cool with it, the way that we're comfortable with it, and a lot of the things that we choose to do for ourselves, whether it be self-care, whether it be the exercise we do or the skincare routine or whatever that helps us stand up a little straighter and feel more confident going into that time frame. We did talk about one of the episodes we have coming up after, I don't know if it'll be before or after this one, but is about feeling invisible.
Yeah.
When you get to be the age that we are and above. And I think that plays directly into it.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about the like examples. So people have better, like some examples of how mind over matter can play into things. And I mentioned before that I want to talk a little bit about positive
toxicity.
I can't say that. Positive toxicity. Yes. Yeah. And because I have thoughts about that, and I'm curious what you think. So anyway, let's go back to another example would be disease. Let's say someone has cancer. Let's use Mary as an example.
Okay.
Look at how she has gone into this process. She has chosen to take a positive look at things. Is she scared? Hell yeah, she's scared. Is she doing everything that she needs to do to make her outcome the best she possibly can? She absolutely is. But if she walked into this with a negative mindset, if she walked into this saying, oh my gosh, I don't think any of this stuff is going to work. I don't, I'm losing my hair. It's like, really having that negative feeling towards herself. I truly feel that those things that would be in her brain would be directly impacting her ability to get better. And that happens with a lot of people.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so what we think and what we do is, I think, a direct correlation to the outcome, that we have. And so with that one, I mean, I haven't, I have been in this place where I had cancer. I never really looked at it that way at all. I was just like, no, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Just get it taken care of. I was very almost disconnected from it. I think and I'm not saying that it was necessarily healthy,
right?
But that's how I dealt with it. She's just very positive about everything, and her outcome's going to be good. And she has a very aggressive form of cancer. So she has a lot of follow-up treatments and things that have to be done. But you know what? She's going to be okay. I know she's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with her confidence level about what's happening with her and the level of support, of course, she has, and what she's putting out there in the universe, because if she thought about it differently, I think that we would be looking at it a little differently. It wouldn't be so, she wouldn't be so open to talk about it,
right?
That sort of thing.
It's so true.
Yeah. The whole idea of mind over matter is really a phrase or a concept that's used a lot in psychology. When you think about trying to really gear someone up for adversity, maybe that might be coming, they have to have that inner strength. All of that directly relates to this. It's also something that perhaps in like religious settings or spiritual settings that you would run across. I mean, think about like in the Catholic Church, which is my what I know. Do you think that priests and nuns would have to have a mind over matter thought process in order to be abstinent, in order to be isolated, in order to be, married to God? I would think they would have to be.
I mean, when you said that, it made me think of food. Mind over matter. I mean, there's so many,
it absolutely deals with food.
There's so many things in our lives that have to do with that we subconsciously are utilizing the mind over matter aspect of things, and we don't even realize.
Being on like a diet or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when you're consciously trying to eat healthier, to help lose weight, whatever it might be, going to the gym, all of those things. Getting out of bed, drinking water, staying hydrated. All sounds so
it's so complicated. There's so much we have to do.
It all sounds so trivial, but these are things that I think
you're stressing me out.
If you're gonna lay there like I do a lot of times and hit snooze, 500 times, my day's gonna drag like that. But I do notice the days where I literally tell myself, just get up, Michelle, you got to do this anyway. Just get up and get it going. Get my coffee, put my makeup on, all the things I like to do. And, it just
gets routine
a better
going.
Start to the day.
Yeah. It's funny because Sundays are like my mind over matter day.
Yeah.
Because it's the day where I'm kind of able to clean, and if my head doesn't feel right, if I don't have things, my laundry's not done, it's just, I feel like I'm disorganized, and I don't like that feeling starting off on a new week.
Yep,
Monday's like one of my favorite days, which is kind of weird for people, but it's literally a fresh start. It's literally a fresh start to that week. And every time we hit a Saturday, I'm like, damn, I don't get very many. It was a poem I heard a long time ago about how many Saturdays you get in your lifetime.
Oh, geez.
I know.
You were talking about Christmases the other day.
I know.
Here we go with Saturday.
Well, it's because I've had a birthday recently, I think, is where, you start thinking about your mortality, and you start thinking about, oh gosh, it's like your time.
And people we've had, lost. There's no loss. People are our own age that are, have passed on, and it's kind of.
2023 was kind of a year like that.
Yeah.
I'm very much a realist. But I would say I'm a positive realist. But the reality is that there's a lot of shit that's going on that's not good. And so I almost feel like going into the positive toxicity thing, that sometimes people just ignore that. And they're like, oh, no, everything's going to be fine. Or, oh, gosh, everything will work out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at them going, that's too easy. That's like sticking your head in the sand to me. And it's not because I don't want things to be good or positive. It's more kind of like you have no merit to base that on. Give me something good to go with, and then I'll believe you. Or I create my own. Go, okay, yeah, that's kind of a shitty situation, but there's ways we can look at this that are going to make it be different. Like if I get in a car accident, at least I'm not in the hospital.
Yeah.
And it's like the silver lining. I guess the silver lining is what I'm talking about. You have to look at things in a way to where there is a silver lining, because there's going to be horrible, bad stuff that happens to us. But if you let it get you down completely, you're not going to be able to have the strength for the things you truly need to have strength for, like other people in your life that might need your help or might need your support, or, for your own self.
I'm thinking about, as you're saying these things, it is, I don't know why, but it's making me think of Zachary.
Oh yeah.
And really,
that's a great mind over matter one.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
As I think about
is
that.
like that situation and everything that you went through personally in your marriage relationship, all of those things. I mean, you could have said, I am not going to have any more kids. I don't want to go through that. When I lost my dog, I'm like, I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
I never want to feel that way again. But to your point,
it's like, in order to love, you have to be mindful of the fact that there's going to be pain.
You're right.
I mean, that one does not go without the other.
Right.
If you love somebody and they leave you, they go away, they go to heaven, whatever. It's like so great point, because there was a long period of time where I was trying to find the cup half empty view of that, and angry and at God, angry about everything, and then it kind of came, and then I kind of started realizing that as I got older and more mature, I think it was a lot of it had to do with maturing, and everything was, because I was pretty young. I was like Zoe's age when I had him. But I had these other kids, right? So it's like, those guys would never have been here. And so I look at that like his gift. So you kind of start looking at things from a different perspective, using your circumstances to help other people. So I would speak at different things, and I was like a grief parent and stuff like that for people. So you're able to take it and use it for something good, even though it's shitty and it's horrible, but there's good that can come out of every bad situation.
Right.
Maybe it's human kindness that you run across when things are happening, or you see like all the destruction that's going on in the world right now, and the amount of pain and suffering that's taking place. And frankly, I feel pretty helpless about a lot of that, because we're watching a lot of these things happen. Is there a silver lining or light at the end of the tunnel, or whatever you want to say, for people that are going through that? I think everybody's going to have a different view on things. On it, could it destroy their lives if their family's gone? Hell yeah.
Sure.
It's going to be a whole, like, refinding yourself, refiguring out what you want to do. Some people don't want to.
Yeah.
And those people end up taking their own lives, or end up leaving this world, because they just can't fathom doing life without the people that are there, or, can't get themselves out of a funk, or a deep depression, or things like that.
Yeah.
And so that's the other alternative. So
it's interesting, something that you brought up when you were just talking about that situation, how because you got older and wiser and more mature on things. I was reading something where they were talking about that there's 3 misconceptions of aging, and that's one of them, is as you grow older, everything is in decline, our intellectual skills, things like that. But and as far as the misconceptions go, as they talked about them, these 3, they then said it is absolutely just that, a misconception, because we have control over what our intellectual skills are, and what they're, as we, I think it was between the ages of 20 and 70. So as you progress on in the years, you become more intellectually mature, and the skills you have with communicating, and the things that you're retaining, and the things we learn, for goodness sake, just on these life journeys.
Right. Some of the things we're learning, though, might not be positive.
Right. But true.
I mean, I guess you have to figure out how to mix all that in, because there are going to be things, like, you're going to learn that, like, who's going to show up. If you have a big, huge adversity in your life, you're going to learn who shows up for you.
And
it's not going to always be good.
Maybe it's not always good, and it is disappointing. But I think at the same time, it's necessary.
Yeah.
So there's the caveat that you have to keep in mind, and you learn from that.
Well, and I look at it like, you might, in that scenario, you you're actually at an advantage for yourself because you know what you're dealing with.
Right.
So what you thought was good isn't. And so you kind of try to find another direction to go, you know?
So the second of the three was that we have no control over the aging process. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, we're getting older every day.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
and you kind of brought this up
Yeah.
a little bit earlier, where I mean, it's
It
nothing
is.
you can do about it. We're getting
But
older.
there is, because you can, I mean, you can see, you can physically see, or we know people who have made an effort to, when I say age gracefully,
Yeah.
they're taking care of themselves.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
where the misconception
Yeah.
is that because you do have control, you can get out and go. It doesn't have to be like all these really hard self or time consuming things.
Mhm.
Just go out and walk for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Do something socially if it's maybe once a month.
Mhm.
Intentionally do that, so that you're in a social setting where you're having conversations.
So
Eat healthy.
What happens if you're not doing all those things, in my thinking, which we start to see with people who are progressively becoming more elderly,
Yeah.
is that they start to exist,
Yeah.
as opposed to live.
Right.
There's a big difference between the two. It's like existing is, I don't want to be in a position where I will ever exist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously I want to exist, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be in a position where I'm living my life.
Right.
And so you have to go into that thought process now at the age that we're at,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to set yourself up for that down the road. If you're saying, oh gosh, I'm not going to retire till I'm 65, and by then I might have a heart attack and not be able to travel. Well, God damn it, if you keep talking that way, you probably are going to have that happen.
That talk, man.
Yeah.
You're saying out loud, and you are manifesting nothing but all the negative.
Yeah. And maybe there would be roadblocks, it getting in your way, but that doesn't mean the roadblocks stop you.
Right.
So again, kind of going back to confidence,
Mm-hmm.
with, who you are, the decisions you're making, and the personal inner strength that someone has to be able to make those things happen,
Mm-hmm.
We talked about a little bit of the practices on mind over matter, but before we get to that, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the positive toxicity that we have mentioned a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anybody that's that way?
To a toxic degree, not really. I think some people think that I tend to maybe be oblivious and live in a bubble.
Really?
I don't think I'm positively toxic.
No, God, no.
No, but just the things that I do to limit the intake of negativity,
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes might be viewed as ignorant. Maybe ignorance is bliss. There's that whole term, because
it's just what you choose to invest your energy in.
Yeah. And I know of the things that are going on in the world. I mean, I keep up on.
I tell you all the time.
I keep up on news things.
God, can you believe blah blah blah?
Yeah, I see stuff, but I don't dive in and get sucked in and have it be an hour later and all of this stuff has gone into my brain.
Right.
I don't do that. And so I don't know. I can't think of anybody off the top that I know. I know what you're saying. It's like burying your head in the sand. That's why it made me think of ignorance is bliss and, living in that bubble to a degree. But I kind of don't think I don't think it's wrong.
My view, I'll just kind of tell you my view. I do know one person who's kind of like that, but I don't think there's an intention of that person's a very genuine person. Extra, very genuine person, but super, like I've never heard anything negative come out of his mouth, to the point where it's even when he's frustrated about something or whatever, he always is finding the silver lining in whatever it is. But when I think of positive toxicity, I think of someone who really is not willing to go deeper than the surface. So they're like, everything's going to be great. You just need to be positive and think blah, 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 blah. Instead of trying to understand what's taking place, and helping maybe their friend navigate what that looks like. Yeah. To me, that comes across as a lack of sincerity. I mean, maybe that's not how other people look at it, but with me, it's like, if I see someone who's positively toxic, they're not going to necessarily be the person I talk to about an issue or a problem.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Because their answers are going to be very surface answers.
Right.
When I'm like not looking for surface answers, I'm looking, let's dive into something and figure it out.
What I was talking about, that's different.
Yeah.
I think not toxic positivity. So, because what you're saying, that totally makes sense. And I do agree with what you're saying. Somebody like that would be, I think would tend to be more seemingly insincere.
Insincere.
Yeah.
Well, they're basically not getting, everything's kind of like, brushing your shoulder off. You're not really getting involved in anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that's my interpretation.
It makes me think of Mark Schwimmer in that Friends episode. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And he's like this in this really high voice, I don't know why my voice sounds like this, but really I'm fine.
But really you're not.
Just,
So anyway, so let's talk about maybe a little bit of the practices. We can just touch on them. We mentioned God, I cannot speak today. We mentioned visualization. We mentioned visualization.
Visualization.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Conjunction junction. What's your function?
Yeah.
Also meditation. I think I have a hard time with it. I do like 10 minutes in the morning when I wake up, and it's more kind of like I just will lay there and just with my eyes shut. I'm not even out of bed yet.
Have you ever done a guided visualization? Guided meditation?
Not visualization. Well, I guess when they take you on a walk in the forest, that sort of thing.
Oh my gosh. If you've never done it, people, you should try it, because really, I don't know why I get lost in it. Yeah.
It just takes your mind off of everything that's going on. Yes. Gives your mind a rest. Yes. Yeah. I've done that before when I've really needed to kind of get out of my head.
Yeah.
So but I haven't done that often. I think more with meditation, it's really about having good, positive, conscious thoughts for your day. For me, that's what it's about. Yeah. Or it's like what I want to accomplish for the day, or, kind of thinking about what's important.
Well, I think too, when you intentionally do that, as opposed to, because I was doing that for a while, actually, and I kind of fell off the bandwagon. But I was intentionally having those thoughts first thing in the morning,
right,
on how I wanted my day to go, what I wanted to accomplish. I literally would lay there to, like what you're saying, and tell myself what the outcomes were going to be for that day, instead of doing all the habitual things.
Yeah.
Picking up my phone, scrolling through the socials, looking at the new, different things like that. And then, turning my music on and making my coffee. And I still would do those after the intentional stuff. But, there was really different outcomes when you intentionally do that, as opposed to habitually doing the things that you're so used to. Like, you don't even think about it.
Exactly. It's just you're going through the motions. It's kind of like when you're driving from here to the grocery store, you don't really think about your route because you've done it so many times.
Yep.
It's similar to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, I'm completely in agreement with you. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time. I don't think it needs to be a ton of time, but enough to be able to kind of give yourself a boost.
They've done studies on all this.
Probably
they have. There's been extensive research, scientific research on the outcomes of many of the practices that we have been talking about. And the outcomes are all very positive for your health, for your mental health, for your physical health. They find, blood pressure
reducing.
Reducing. It's just like so many things, better health benefits overall when you put some of these things into practice. It's true.
And realistically, I feel like I'm kind of a busy bee. So if I'm just speaking from my own perspective, it's hard for me to do these things.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to, it doesn't come naturally to me. I'm always running around or having my mind on different things. And yeah. And well, like Eileen, great example. She's so cute, but she goes to her meditation time frame is like with yoga.
Yep.
So I think everybody finds their own way to make things like this work. Have you ever done like mirror talk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you put in little notes or anything on your mirror?
I have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're getting ready in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you look at yourself and you're just like, I'm going to kick ass today.
Yeah.
You know, and or I have my thing written on my intention or whatever written on my mirror. It's written on my little bulletin board I have behind my door. And I will go back there and look at that bulletin board, and it's for me to keep track of my workouts, really basically. And it's like, I forgot to fill it in last week, so I filled it in today, you know, but I'm just trying to keep track of it and be able to, you know, go so many times a week or whatever I need to do. So that's what I have there. But I think constant, you know, positive self-talk, positive reinforcement of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, or even just being positive to be happy.
I had one on my mirror for a long time, just recently too. I always have more than enough money. And, you know, I always find ways to be able to take care of whatever it is that I need. It, you know, seems silly, but I don't know.
That's not silly.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point.
You know how many people are probably going, that's a great idea. Yeah. Well, especially if anybody has any sort of if anybody has any sort of like a scarcity mindset, it comes from a lot of different things. That's a good positive reinforcement to give yourself, because you're obviously need to feel confident about you're saving money, you're budgeting, you're doing things like that. So yeah, that's actually a good thing.
And with decision making, just different things that go into that. Doesn't mean I'm going to find a, you know, $20,000 check under my pillow, but you know, it just like comes into.
But if you did, you'd take me where?
Wherever was somewhere Spanish speaking, because you're learning it.
Exactly. Setting the intention is another one. So setting your goal, setting your intention. So I think for me anyway, that comes in that whole meditation time frame. And they may be the same things that you're focusing on every day. Whether it's the gym or it's your health, or like today, great example. I got this recipe that I found. It was viral on Instagram, and it's like 400 calories, 45 grams of protein. It looks so damn good. So what do? Michelle got me the containers. I'm making her some too. And I made them. They're meal prepping for the week. Yeah. And I'm really excited about it because I will have my dinner planned for the week, and I'm going to just see how it goes. I know. Meal prepping is great. Weird about eating food like Sunday.
This is true. Yeah. So this actually, now that you bring that up, this will be a good.
Well, what I was thinking was, I'm going to give one to you. Yeah. So you'll have it. And so then I'll have 4, and then I'll probably put one in the freezer. And then I'll have a couple out, you know, that I can use. Then I'll mix it in with other things. But it's kind of a nice thing to do to be able to prepare, you know, or like I prepared my peanut butter protein balls. So, and I have enough so I can have one every day. And if I really want to, I can have 2, you know, but they're my little treat.
She is a little obsessed with them.
I'm a little obsessed.
And they are pretty good. Yeah.
So talking to yourself, changing your habits. That's another one. So undoing negative habits that you have.
That's hard to do.
I know.
Also. Yeah.
I know.
It's a struggle.
So, I mean, I don't know what some of those things could be, but there's probably a ton that aren't good for people that they just need to rethink how they're doing. And a lot of it might have to do with mindset and how they talk to themselves. Yeah. That negative self-talk. That's immediately what comes to mind.
Well, even just, there's a lot of different aspects, and I'm just using this one as an example, but a friend of mine who is on the road quite a bit for work and eats out. Yeah. You know, when we're eating fast food, that's exactly what it is. And recently she's like, I'm going to buy apples and peanut butter and, you know, eat those in the car when I'm driving. That way, you know.
So you're setting yourself up for success.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's just like a little example of something. But yeah, changing habits.
Yeah. Or the other thing was eliminating things that prevent you from reaching your vision or your goals.
Or full potential. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that could be, if we're talking food, that could be not having ice cream in your house.
I cannot buy potato chips. Rick and I were both talking about this, where it like the other day he was like, I mean, I would buy potato chips because the girls will like having the chips.
But they'll never make it to the girls.
Well, then the girls are there and they're like, why do you buy these chips? Because they do like them. But, you know,
he figured out that
he was buying them the girls, but then he would be the one ending up eating them.
Mm-hmm.
So he just can't. And that's what I told him too. I'm like, I cannot buy potato chips if I have the potato chips in the house. I will, because I can't just eat one. I know that's a tagline on the Lay's commercial, but I literally,
But it's
whatever
true.
kind they are, I can't, I will eat half the bag in one sitting.
You know, on a side note, have you had Doritos?
Not in a long time.
But, you know, I don't even like them, but if I have one,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm like that with like
addicting.
cookies and stuff, you know, it's like.
This is total, but you talked about Doritos and Cheetos. Are you a licker or a scraper when it comes to all the orange stuff that ends up on your fingers? Do you lick it off or do you scrape it with your teeth?
No, I lick it. I'll lick it off.
I scrape it with my
But it's
teeth.
like, it's like, I love Cheetos. Like I love the Cheetos, and so I'll get like the little thingy of them, you know, of course I'll have to fill it up again, but it kind of will gross me out. Yeah. If I have too much of that stuff on my hands. Yeah. Because it's fake food.
I know. And you get to scrape it off with it.
Yeah. It's like fake food. It just, it's like, and you like, thank God she likes like potato chips that have olive oil or whatever. She likes all this weird stuff that I don't like. Yeah. So I don't eat her chips, which is very good.
Salt and vinegar. That's what you're thinking. Salt and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar. Yeah.
Jalapeno, barbecue.
Yeah. Would never. Barbecue I'll eat. Yeah. Barbecue I'll do, but. I just love it. Especially the kettle cooked. Yeah. Kettle cooked Lay's jalapeno chips with cream cheese is so good. Oh my God, that just sounds so disgusting. Like I would never eat that. I like the Tim's Cascade chips that are folded in half because they're crunchy. The ones that are
folded, and I've always said I think there should be some anybody that's in the potato chip business, if you're listening, there needs to be a bag of potato chips where they are all folded.
Yes.
Because those are the best ones.
Those are the best ones.
I seek those out. And I know I'm not, obviously.
No, they're my, so I will literally go in and pick out the ones.
That's how I am too. That's so funny.
But let me just run through these. So self-affirmations. Michelle's like, I love the chips. Yeah. I'm self-affirming. I could have them 3 times this week. Yeah. No. I think it's been kind of fun to put little notes. Like you put a little note on your mirror or whatever for the morning and just go, okay, you're going to kick ass today or whatever you're going to do. Kind of fun self-affirmation notes. When you don't forgive, which is not necessarily about mind over matter in some ways, but in others, it kind of is. When you hold or harbor anger or resentment and you don't work through that, it can put you in a really negative place. Yeah. And it takes time to work through things. And when you do forgive, it's not forgiving for that person or that situation. It's forgiving for yourself, really. So you can let your heart be lighter. Yeah, exactly.
It's like that episode we did, Let That Shit Go.
That was a long, we did that one like at the beginning.
Yeah.
And we could probably redo that because there was so much stuff that we didn't even talk about. The other one was exercise. Because exercise, even like you were saying, like a 30-minute walk, just something that gets your blood flowing, gets your body moving. It is so good for your brain. Yeah. It is so good for to breathe in fresh air. You know, well, maybe if you're at the gym, you might not be completely fresh air, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Just to get your blood pumping makes a big difference in your outlook on things. A lot of this has to do with your mental outlook. So I feel like this is a really good topic for us, especially, you know, we're early on in the year and the whole concept of mind over matter is going to come into play with things that we're going to be dealing with that we don't even know about yet. You know, maybe adversity will hit us. Maybe we'll have some conundrum that we have to try to figure out, and putting our kind of rising above whatever it is that's holding us back might be something that we really have to practice. So I'm hoping that covering this topic has been helpful for our listeners out there, because it's always something that you can benefit from.
For sure. Absolutely.
And I could be from the 90s and say for shizzle.
For shizzle. Just really quick before we wrap up too, there's different things that you can say because like you were talking about before, how you handle situations, it, makes a difference. So, just even trying to positively say something in regard to a situation, if something's hard, instead of saying, oh my gosh, that's just going to be too hard, try to tell yourself something different. Like, let me see if I can figure this out.
So what's so hard about it? What can we do to get past that?
Yeah, to get past it. So that's just one example. There's many others, but being again aware of those things that come to our mind as we move through different situations, because that will make a difference as well.
Our human limitations we've set on ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good
point.
But yeah, and there's a lot of things that we touched on in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. So please remember to download our episode. You can find us out there on all the platforms that you listen to your podcast on. And if you download, you can revisit. And of course, we're on all the socials. We have an email address, blondebrunetteandmike@gmail.com. Hit us up there. And because we would love your feedback and we want to talk about some of it. So
yeah, most definitely. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking this out. I cannot speak today. Checking this out on video and or on audio, depending upon what platform you're on. We do appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. So on that note,
until next time,
peace out,
people. Peace out, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.